A single gunshot in Minneapolis has ignited protests across the United States and reopened wounds the country never fully healed. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because stories like this shape the future of civil rights and state power. An unarmed American citizen is dead. Federal agents are defending their actions, and city leaders are calling the official explanation a lie. Now, cities from Chicago to New York are erupting in protest. And the question shaking the nation is simple, but explosive. Was this self-defense or another deadly abuse of authority? The shooting occurred early Wednesday morning in a residential neighborhood south of downtown Minneapolis. 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, a U.S. citizen, was sitting in the driver's seat of her vehicle when she was shot in the head by a federal Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent. The Trump administration claims the ICE agent fired in self-defense, arguing that Good attempted to run over officers with her car. But that version of events is being openly disputed, not only by eyewitnesses, but by local police and elected officials who say the evidence tells a very different story. Video footage of the incident quickly circulated online, intensifying public outrage. The shooting took place just blocks from where George Floyd was murdered in 2020, a detail that instantly amplified the emotional and political impact. In the hours after the killing, state and city officials demanded that ICE leave Minneapolis immediately. The federal government refused. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced that ICE agents would remain in Minnesota, confirming that more than 2,000 federal officers had been deployed in what she described as the largest immigration enforcement operation in U.S. history. According to the Department of Homeland Security, over 1,500 people have been arrested as part of the operation. Noem described the shooting as an act of domestic terrorism against federal agents, claiming the officer acted to protect himself and others. President Donald Trump echoed that narrative on social media, accusing Good of violently resisting officers and framing the shooting as justified self-defense. Minneapolis officials reacted with fury. Governor Tim Walz said he had reviewed the video footage and warned the public not to believe what he called federal propaganda. He promised a full and independent investigation. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey went further. At a press conference, Frey accused federal authorities of deliberately misrepresenting the incident. He described the agent's actions as reckless and said the self-defense claim was bullshit. His message to ICE was blunt and unfiltered. Leave Minneapolis. The sharp divide between federal and local authorities exposed a growing crisis, not just over one shooting, but over who controls law enforcement on American streets. By Wednesday evening, Minneapolis residents gathered for a vigil at the site of the shooting. What began as mourning quickly turned into protest. Demonstrators marched through the city, confronted law enforcement, and demanded an end to federal immigration raids. Some protesters were pepper sprayed, others were struck with what appeared to be rubber bullets or marker rounds. The unrest did not stop in Minnesota. Emergency vigils and protests erupted in Chicago, Oakland, New York City, and other major urban centers. Signs reading, "Justice for Renee Nicole Good," filled the streets as crowds condemned ICE and federal immigration enforcement. For many protesters, the shooting symbolized something larger: the expansion of federal force into civilian life and the normalization of lethal power without accountability. The Minneapolis shooting has reignited long-standing debates over policing, federal authority, immigration enforcement, and racial justice. Supporters of ICE argue agents are operating in increasingly dangerous conditions. Critics counter that federal forces are acting with impunity, insulated from local oversight and consequences. What makes this moment especially volatile is the scale. A single incident is now tied to one of the largest federal enforcement deployments in modern U.S. history, unfolding in cities already scarred by past violence and mistrust. As investigations begin and protests continue, one thing is certain: the death of Renee Nicole Good has become more than a single tragedy. It is a test of accountability, truth, and the limits of state power. How this case is handled and whether justice is delivered will shape public trust for years to come. If you want clear, factual coverage of the stories that define power and resistance, like the video and subscribe to the channel. We don't just report what happened, we explain why it matters.